Welcome back to the CO2 project. Now in a previous video I showed you how to set up a USB web camera to do a time lapse. What we're going to do is something similar here for the CO2 project so we can see that algae growing. Now what we're going to do is line up where we want to put the actual web camera, and it's either going to go on the top or the bottom. I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't get the sunlight reflecting on it or something and actually blocking the tubes. So what I'm going to do is actually cut out a section on the actual box here, and I'm going to mount it in behind into this actual box. That'll protect it as well, which will be good. Now, once I've popped this hole out, I'm going to have to work out a way to protect it from the elements, because obviously there's going to be rain on the front and then probably moisture and things like that in the back. So what we're going to actually do is cut out this piece of Perspex, which I've drilled some holes in. It lines up perfectly over that hole. I'm going to drill it in and then I'm going to silicone around it. That way it's completely sealed from the outside. Now on the inside, what we're going to do is actually add a bit of a box that I can mount everything in, which I use one of these cheap type of Tupperware containers, which is sealed. Now it's got the clear plastic and it's got these tabs that allow me to actually get inside it if I need to actually do anything on the inside for whatever reason. Making sure that they don't interfere with any of the other equipment inside the box. And you can probably see there's some things changed, but we'll go through that in another video. For the moment, I've screwed the actual container down to the wood and cut out a hole so that it goes both for the camera and also for a cable to run that USB cable out the side, which I can seal up later on once I've run the cable through. As for the web camera, it is actually a bit too thick to actually install inside the actual box. It doesn't get the best angle to see all the algae tubes. So what I'm actually doing is, next to demolishing this camera and pulling it down to its bare essential components, which is basically all the circuitry, which you want to be careful if you're doing something like this, because you could damage the components if you're not being careful. I've just kind of cable tied it there to some plastic, and that way it is as bare essential as it needs to. I've removed the microphone, and what we can then do is line that up, and you can see I've actually plugged it into my laptop, and you can see where it'll be mounted and what view we'll get. So inside there, I've glued it in with just some hot glue for the moment. That cable runs off. It's currently plugged into the computer at the moment, and as you can see, there's the 4 tubes. So what we'll get is that time lapse every so often. It'll take a picture, we'll start to see it slowly turn green. That cable runs down through to the Raspberry Pi, and yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to be set up. Now, getting pictures of the actual algae growing and that time lapse, it's not going to basically give us too much details other than potentially what's turning or actually going green a bit quicker, or it's a bit harder to really work out exactly what's going on, but at least the pictures will show us something, and I'll set those pictures up so that you guys can see them, even hopefully in a live view as well, with the actual photos being updated constantly, and that way you can scroll back and see from day one all the way to the current timeline of the color change and things like that. We'll start to see some of that biomass hopefully starting to form inside the tubes. So that's about it for this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, keep up to date with the project, and if you haven't already, check out the playlist for the algae CO2 scrubber. There's a lot of things in there at the moment, so you want to make sure to catch all of those so you can see it piece by piece coming together. Now, if you want to know how to set up that USB camera on a Raspberry Pi to take time lapses, go check out the tutorial that I've got there. It's quite handy to understand for future reference. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.